EMSNOW, and I have the pleasure today of sitting with a colleague, André Corriveau, the CTO of Cogiscan. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for taking the time. Before we get into some of the questions, why don't you give everyone just a brief introduction to who exactly Cogiscan is? I think of you as that TTC kind of leader of the industry, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, TTC stands for Track, Trace, and Control, and Cogiscan is a provider of software solutions for the electronics manufacturing industry. So we start from collecting data from machines, transforming that data, doing a lot of specialized material and process control for the electronics industry. We do a lot of traceability, and we have an analytics platform to analyze data and make value out of it. So in a nutshell, that's what we do at Cogiscan. We are a global company. We sell all over the world, directly to end customer and through an ecosystem of partners, both from the equipment side and the software side.
Yeah, and as CTO, you're intimately involved with all of the solutions, obviously, the development of those.
Yeah, definitely as CTO, but I also head the product management team here at Cogiscan. So doing roadmaps and defining our vision in terms of the product is part of my duties.
Okay. Yeah. So tell me, before, obviously, we're living in interesting times with the pandemic that has kind of hit the industry and the world and affected all of our lives in multiple ways. How has tell me briefly the Cogiscan, how's it been for Cogiscan with the status? I think, as I think some of you are working from home and remotely still. It might be easier for software companies to such a situation.
Let me start by saying that I'm very happy we're not running an airline company, because the challenges would be quite different. Fortunately, being a software company, we were already using many of the tools that are required for running from a remote office or for performing remote support from our customers. But on top of that, I would say about a year ago, we laid out what we call internally our 20+ plan, where we took a fresh look at our vision, mission, initiatives that we want to put forward, and that will guide us for the years to come. And as part of that plan, we had already set up initiatives to change and improve our customer experience. And part of that was to go further in our capabilities to entertain remote deployments and support for our customers. So, I mean, that work that we started a year ago actually gave us a bit of a head start when the confinement happened here in Canada around mid-March. So we've been about 4 months. So the transition was easy, and we were able almost overnight to continue to work seamlessly and remotely from home without any interruption in our services. And as of today, even though we're not as strict in terms of confinement in Canada, people took the habit of working from home. It's very productive, and I think we might never go back to what we were before COVID. I think some of the things we've been learning and the tools we use will just stay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, the big discussion, and this obviously applies to Cogiscan as well, and the industry has been for a while, the whole digitalization, right? And what that's happening, and people are saying that the pandemic has probably accelerated it as well. So what's Cogiscan's perspective on digital transformation?
Okay, well, I mean, let me start by saying that digital transformation is a very vast topic, okay? Because there are many different definitions, different interpretations being done about that, depending on the viewpoints and who you talk to. So, to keep it simple, if I narrow down to our manufacturing reality, because, we are in electronics manufacturing, there are some common themes. And I would say there are 3 that really come quickly to mind. The first one is that you cannot think of going through a digital transformation initiative without thinking about data. That's fundamental.
Mm-hmm.
It may sound a bit obvious, but you know, data availability and handling is the foundation for any transformation, digital transformation. Without the data, you cannot reach the next level. This is where you need to start. Once this is well understood, the next thing you need to worry about is how this data will be transformed and what you're going to do with it. Because at the end, the purpose of a digital transformation effort is to transform the business, improve the way you make decisions, and create value. And then I think the last common theme that I'd like to point out is that to achieve the digital transformation, you need technology. You need technology to collect the data, you need technology to host and transform the data, and you need technology to create value out of that data. So
Mm-hmm.
without technology, you cannot really achieve digital transformation.
Right. Well, which begs the question then is, how does this relate to your product portfolio then?
Good question. I mean, if I translate that into our role at Cogiscan, actually what is of critical importance for us is to identify the factory's data journey and how this factory data journey correlates to our portfolio of products. And this is actually, we're just coming out of an exercise about road mapping where we looked at where we are, where we want to be in the 3 to 5 years to come, and what are the gaps that we need to fill based on what's going on in the industry. And identifying the factory data journey was really at the center of our decision process. And basically, we have 5 product families that each deal with different aspects of the data journey. If I start with the first one, it's connectivity. So connectivity deals with data collection and data transfer to a system. That's where you need to start. It's the foundation. Our next level in terms of product families is data management. Once you collect, you need to be able to consolidate data across machines, across lines for the whole factory. And then you need to worry about uniformization of the data because different machines will interpret things a bit differently. So you need to make that uniform. And you need to add context to the data to enrich the data. So this is what our data management product portfolio does. And then the next step is our material and process control portfolio of products. From data that we monitor on machines, you have to make sure that materials are being used per the proper guidelines. You need to make sure that your processes are running the proper way, using the proper guidelines. And if anything goes out of bound, well, you need to react and do some process interlocking. So that family of product deals with that. Then we have our 360-degree traceability. This is where we deal with the aspects of data retention, because different people have different needs in terms of long-term retention, for example. This is where we provide tools for data access, because you need to provide access to the data of everything you've collected, and also reporting of the data. And then the last family is our analytics family of products. And this is where we bring more advanced tools for data visualization through dashboards that go beyond simple reporting. And also where we do what I call data valuation, where it's not just about representation of data anymore, but you need to be able to call for action. You need to be able to drill down to find root causes of problems and find out about opportunities for improvement. So this is where, at the end of the day, this is the end of the journey where you started from collecting raw data from a machine, but now you're able to create value out of the data that was collected. So this is the whole journey, actually, that we're trying to cover.
Right. And you started with the connectivity piece, which is interesting because I remember, I think it was back at Productronica last year and at Apex again, the last 2 shows I saw Cogiscan at, we had the But First tagline was launched. And So how is that? Where is Cogiscan now with that, with the connecting? Is everybody connected now, or are we,
Well,
where are we at?
yeah, but I mean, as you know, explained before, I mean, data is really the foundation of any smart factory, and you know, especially in electronics manufacturing, a lot of the data is actually generated by the machines that are making and testing the products. So with Connect, we help the industry accelerate the IoT and Industry 4.0 deployments, and we want to be seen as the leading connectivity provider for electronics. So our challenge is quite simple. We need to connect data sources to enterprise systems. So that's a simple challenge, but actually there are two great barriers to achieve that challenge. The first one is that the data sources are of very different nature. You know, you have different types of machines, different brands, different models, different vintages, old and new machines, using different technologies, different software environments, and also using different technologies to expose the data. So that's the reality. And some machines will use only databases, log files, will use protocols, some are standard, and there's multiple standards that coexist in our industry, and a lot of them actually are proprietary protocols. So that's one of the barriers on the machine side. The other big barrier is that you basically have the same at the enterprise level. How you pump data up to the enterprise level really depends on the system. And again, there's multiple standard protocols that coexist, but a lot of proprietary protocols or APIs that come from commercial MES companies or actually corporate corporate MESs that exist at different customers. So Connect, I mean, by definition, is a multi-protocol connectivity platform, both from input, connecting to the machine, and from the output, connecting to the enterprise. So we take those two barriers away to meet the challenge of connecting the data source to the enterprise system. So that's where we are. And, you know, we constantly invest in expanding the library of machines that we connect to and enterprise system that we connect to. And I would say one of the steps we are undertaking right now is soon we're going to be releasing what we call our Connect Hub. And the Connect Hub is basically a online platform to improve the customer experience by providing online documentation about the whole library of connections that we do. So making that information available in an easier way. But also where we're going with that is, you know, we want to provide a way for our target audience to actually easily download, install, and try the software, because that's going to be part of their IoT initiatives or their Industry 4.0 initiative. So we want customers to easily try that. And more and more, you know, we see connectivity as moving as a service. And actually we're right now evaluating different business models that go towards that line. This is something that we're working on right now.
Yeah. You know, when I think of Cogiscan, I always think about how you have to take such a complex environment, as you described, with various barriers, but then you have to make it simple and almost seamless for your clients. And like you say, you remove those two barriers, but that's not a simple task.
No, it's not. And actually, it really solves a problem. It's a real problem. Again, without the data, and quality data, that's important thing. Is you have to have quality data that's reliable, and that's going to fuel any digital transformation initiative.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Are there any new updates from Cogiscans that our viewers should look out for coming out of the whole pandemic lockdown?
Well, I can talk a little bit about, what we've been focusing on also the last couple of years. We've been investing a lot in our user experience, updating our user interfaces to be more intuitive, simple, and sexier, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we released a few months ago is our TTC Go application,
Yeah.
which is a mobile app. So it runs on Android PDAs and also on mobile phones. And I would say what's interesting about the TTC Go interface is that it's designed to be very intuitive and contextual. And what I mean by contextual is that it provides information to the user and will propose tasks and transactions to the user based on the context of what he's currently doing. So it doesn't have to select. You scan something based on its status, it will offer you something. So it makes it very easy to use, very productive, while minimizing the possible errors that somebody can do during a transaction. And the other thing we're working on right now is soon we're going to be releasing a new product that's called TTC Check. And TTC Check is designed a bit along the same philosophy, but it is a low-cost, small footprint touchscreen interface that enables validation, process interlocking, and traceability, but specifically more for offline machines. I mean, you're probably aware of our product flow controller, or PFC, which we've been selling very successfully for many years. The PFC is focused on conveyorized SMT lines. TTC Check is more focused towards offline operations to make that simpler. Excellent. So that's what other things that we've been working on right now.
Yeah, I remember seeing the app at Apex, I believe it was. Yep. I think I'm not sure if it was rolled out around that time, but I remember.
Well, that was the first release that we did at Apex. We had the second release, well, actually during the pandemic in April.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. And let me just say, kind of in closing, then, what are is there that you're most excited about that might be released this year?
Well, if I'm allowed only one pick, I'd say I would go for Factory Intelligence Drill Down module. Well, Factory Intelligence, as you probably know, is part of our analytics family, as I explained before, and it's really a tool to help, improve your process and reducing your cost. And we've recently augmented the capability in Factory Intelligence by implementing a dynamic drill down dashboard. So the way it works, it's very neat. You have like different graphical representations in one dashboard, and by applying filters or selecting different elements of a specific graphical representation, all the rest of the dashboard will automatically get updated. So you really can dig quickly down the data and drill down to root causes with this. Okay. And that's a way for you to, precisely figure out what's hindering your productivity and get your manufacturing to a more efficient level.
Yeah.
And so we're very excited about that. It's very neat. And what we're doing that's coming, that we intend to release around October, is we will apply the same drill down, dynamic drill down feature that today is specific to inspection machine, but now it's going to be available for placement equipment. Okay. So what are the two machines that create the most issues on the SMT line? Is the pick and place and the inspection machines. So this is where we decided to put the focus first.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Usually when I've been talking to people during COVID, I ask them at the end kind of, what have you been doing? Are you Netflix? What are you binge watching? But based on what you've been saying, it sounds like the team there at Cogiscan has been very, very busy kind of refining their tools and
well, we
the time to improve and move forward.
I mean, what we decide to do is seize the opportunity because you know, all over the world, the COVID created a little bit a slowdown in the activities from a commercial point of view. So we decided to you know, use that opportunity to really accelerate some of the initiatives that we're already planning to do. So at the end, you know, we try to take the best advantage out of that situation.
No, well, it sounds like it's been time well spent on your team's behalf there. Well, listen, thank you very much for taking the time today, for sharing, you know, your thoughts and updates with our audience. I'm sure they will appreciate that. And maybe at some time in the next year, or probably be next year, once we get to go to shows again and meet in person.
Yeah, well, maybe that's going to happen.
Yeah, we keep hoping.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure to share this information with your audience, of course.
Yes, absolutely. No, thank you very much. And maybe we can catch up later in the year. If there's no more shows, we can get updates on how all these developments have panned out. So
yeah, sure. Yeah, again, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.